Hello everyone, this is the chapter 9 of level 2. We will discuss about nutrition in plants in this chapter, essential mineral nutrients, mineral deficiency, micronutrients, macronutrients, insectants.
Nutrition in
So you
plants.
can see in this animation.
Nutrition in plants. All the living organisms require food. The organisms need to take food to obtain energy, to obtain material for growth, and to obtain materials for the repairs of damaged parts of body. The process of taking food by an organism as well as the utilization of this food by the organism is called nutrition. Modes of nutrition. All the organisms can be divided into two main groups. 1. Autotrophs. 2. Heterotrophs. Autotroph. Those organisms which can make food themselves from simple substances like carbon dioxide and water by the process of photosynthesis are called autotrophs, and their mode of nutrition is called autotrophic. For example, green plants. Heterotroph. Those organisms which cannot make food themselves by the process of photosynthesis and take food from green plants or animals are called heterotrophs, and their mode of nutrition is called heterotrophic. All the non-green plants and animals, including human beings, are heterotrophs. Photosynthesis. The process by which green plants make their own food, like glucose from carbon dioxide and water by using sunlight energy in the presence of chlorophyll, is called photosynthesis. In this process, the plants take carbon dioxide gas needed for photosynthesis from the air through the tiny pores called stomata present on the surface of leaves. Each pore is surrounded by a pair of guard cells. The opening and closing of stomatal pores in the leaves is controlled by the guard cells. The carbon dioxide gas present in air enters the leaves of a plant through the stomatal pores present on their surface, and the plants take water needed for photosynthesis from the soil. Soil always contains some water in it. Water present in the soil is absorbed by the roots of a plant and then transported to the leaves through the vessels which run like interconnected pipes throughout the roots, stem, branches and leaves. The tiny pipe-like vessels which transport water from the roots of a plant to its leaves are called xylem. Chlorophyll is a green substance which is present in the leaves of plants. In fact, it is in the presence of chlorophyll that plants absorb the energy from sunlight. During photosynthesis, the sunlight energy is absorbed by chlorophyll and is used to combine carbon dioxide and water in the green leaves to produce food, like glucose. The chemical energy gets stored in the form of plant food. So when plants or animals utilize the food made by photosynthesis, they actually use the solar energy stored in it in the form of chemical energy. In this whole process, plant releases oxygen. Leaves of various colors. Most of the plants have green-colored leaves. Some of the plants, however, have leaves of other colors such as red, violet, yellow, etc. The leaves having colors other than green also have chlorophyll in them. Photosynthesis by plant parts other than leaves. Photosynthesis takes place only in the leaves of plants. In some plants, however, photosynthesis also takes place in other parts of plants such as green stem and green branches. The green stem and green branches can do photosynthesis because they contain chlorophyll. Those stems and branches which are green in color can do photosynthesis. Photosynthesis by algae. Many times we have seen patches of slimy green layer floating on the surface of pond or lake or even in the stagnant parts of a river. Algae are a large group of simple plant-like organisms. Algae contain chlorophyll and produce food by photosynthesis, just like plants. Algae, however, differ from plants because they do not have proper roots, stems, and leaves. Parasites. A plant or animal which lies on or inside another organism called host and derives the food from it is called a parasite. An example of a parasite plant is the cascata. A cascata plant does not have chlorophyll. We can see from the picture it is yellow in color. Therefore, it cannot synthesize its own food. It takes ready-made food from the tree or plant on which it climbs. Saprophytes. Those non-green plants which obtain their food or nutrition from dead and decaying organic matter are called saprophytes. The fungi such as mushrooms, bread mold, and yeast are saprophytes. The non-green saprophytic plants such as fungi obtain their food as follows. The saprophytic plants fungi secrete digestive juices on the dead and decaying organic matter and convert it into a solution. They absorb the nutrients from this solution. This mode of nutrition in which plants take in nutrients from dead and decaying organic matter is called saprophytic nutrition.
Then nutrition in plants, mineral nutrition. Sometimes you may observe that a potted plant kept in sunlight and provided with sufficient water does not grow. Its leaves look pale and weak. Plant may not even flower properly. Such a situation is an indication that the plant may not be getting all that is required for normal plant growth. In most of such situations, one or more minerals required may be lacking in the soil. You might have seen farmers adding some extra manure to the soil. In this lesson, you will learn the importance of mineral nutrition. So after completing this lesson, you will be able to define the term mineral nutrition, macro and micronutrients, explain the functions of minerals with reference to the technique of hydroponics and aeroponics, list the role of macro and micronutrients, mention the deficiency symptoms of macro and micronutrients, differentiate between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition in plants, describe the saprophytic and parasitic nutrition in plants. So as you know that all living things require food to survive, grow and reproduce. So every organism takes in food and utilizes the food constituents for its requirement of growth. A series of processes are involved in the synthesis of food by plants, breaking down the food into simpler substances and utilization of these simpler substances for life processes. Nutrition in plants may thus be defined as a process of synthesis of food, its breakdown and utilization for various functions in the body. The chemical substances in food are called nutrients: carbon dioxide, water, minerals, carbohydrate, proteins, fats, etc. Green plants can make their own food from simple substances like water and carbon dioxide through the process of photosynthesis and are called autotrophs. Non-green plants and other organisms which cannot prepare their own food and obtain nutrition from green plants are called heterotrophs. Now we will discuss how plants get the nutrients. You already know that carbohydrates are synthesized by the process of photosynthesis. So what are the elements present in these carbohydrates? Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are the main element in carbohydrates, fats and proteins. In addition to these three elements, plants need a variety of elements for their survival. These are generally referred to as mineral elements. They are absorbed by the root system of plants in the form of their salts. The study of how plants get mineral elements and utilize them for their growth development is called mineral nutrition. If the minerals are not available to plants, specific symptoms appear due to the deficiency of a particular element. There are methods to determine the requirement of minerals by plant. Some such methods are given below. Minerals are absorbed by plants in solution form. So it is possible to grow plant in water containing the desired amount of mineral salts, taking care that the aerial parts are exposed to air and light. This technique of growing plant in a nutrient solution in complete absence of soil is known as hydroponic or water culture. It was demonstrated for the first time by German botanist Julius von Sachs in the year 1980. In water culture experiments, seedlings are made to grow in water containing the known nutrients in a particular proportion. Vigorous bubbling of the air is routinely done to provide sufficient oxygen to the root system. The culture solution may contain all essential nutrients except the one whose importance is to be identified. Then the plant growing in it is compared to the one growing with all essential nutrients. This is called control experiment. You can see this in the figure. Plant with nutrients. So experiment set up for nutrient solution culture of plants. Water culture experiments help us to understand which element is essential for normal growth of plant, which element is not essential and is absorbed along with other nutrients, how much quantity of each mineral. Hydroponic has been successfully employed for the commercial production. Like aeroponics, like hydroponics, aeroponic is another technique of growing plant in an air. So aeroponic is a technique of growing plants with their roots supplied with moisture present in the air. Rooted plants are placed in a special type of box. The shoots of the rooted plants are exposed to air and the roots are inside the box having computer controlled humid atmosphere. The roots are sprayed mist for short durations with a hydroatomized pure water nutrient solution. This method has been developed recently. Since plants cultured by this technique get a very good growth of root hairs, it is very useful method for research purpose. Citrus plants and olives have been successfully grown through aeroponics. So essential mineral elements. You know that around 112 elements have been discovered until now. So you might be wondering whether plants require all 112 elements for mineral nutrition of them. Most of the mineral elements present in soil are absorbed by roots of the plant, but all are not essential. Only 17 elements are considered as essential for the plants. Let us now discuss the criteria for definition of the essentiality of element. Criteria for essentiality of element is the nutrients or elements which are essential for the healthy growth of the plant are called essential nutrients or essential elements. The roots absorb about 60 elements from the soil. To determine which one is an essential element, the following criteria are used. A essential element is absolutely necessary for normal growth and reproduction of the plant. The requirement of the element is very specific and it cannot be replaced by another element. The element is directly involved in the nutrition of a plant. Magnesium is said to be an essential element because it is essential for the formation of chlorophyll molecule. Its deficiency causes yellowing of leaves. Types of essential elements. Essential elements may be required in a small amount or large amount. Accordingly, they have been grouped into categories. Micro and macronutrients. Micro means required in a minute quantity like 0.1 mg per gram of dry matter or less than. So these are also called as trace elements. Example manganese, boron, copper, molybdenum, etc. Are required in a very small quantities. Macro element required in relatively large quantity like 1 to 10 mg per gram of dry matter like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus potassium, calcium, magnesium, nitrogen and sources of essential elements for plants. After studying the types of essential elements, we will now discuss about their sources. Most of the essential elements are taken from soil, some from the atmosphere. The table given below focuses on the sources of different elements like carbon taken as CO2 from the atmosphere, oxygen absorbed in the molecular form from air or from water. It is also generated within a plant during photosynthesis. Hydrogen, this one is released from water during photosynthesis in the plant. Nitrogen, absorbed by the plant as nitrate ion or as ammonium ion from the soil. Some like bacteria and cyanobacteria can fix nitrogen from air directly. Next one is potassium, calcium, iron, phosphorus, sulfur, magnesium. These are absorbed from the soil, are actually derived from the weathering or rocks, so they are called mineral elements. They are absorbed in the ion. Symptoms of mineral deficiency in plants. The absence of any of the essential element leads to deficiency symptoms. The symptoms can be studied by hydroponics under natural conditions. These symptoms can be taken as indicator of the mineral deficiencies in the soil. Some common deficiency symptoms are chlorosis. It is the loss of chlorophyll leading to yellowing in leaves. It is caused by the deficiency of elements like potassium, magnesium, nitrogen, sulfur, iron, manganese, zinc and molybdenum. Necrosis are death of tissues, particularly leaf tissue is caused by deficiency of potassium, calcium, magnesium. Inhibition of cell division is caused due to lack or deficiency of nitrogen, potassium, sulfur and molybdenum. So stunted, retarded plant growth caused by the deficiency of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, zinc, calcium. Premature fall of leaves and buds deficiency, potassium and phosphorus. Delay in flowering due to deficiency of nitrogen, sulfur and so role of macro and micronutrients. Essential element performs various functions. They carry out several metabolic processes in the plant cells like the maintenance of turgidity of cell, transportation of electrons, membrane permeability and enzyme activity. Essential elements also act as important constituents of the biomolecules and coenzymes. Various functions of the macro and micronutrients are given in the following table. You can see and compare them by your own and make a notes. So please follow all these tables one by one. These questions are come in each and every competitive exams like NEET, SLET or NEET also. So uptake of mineral elements. Plants absorb a large number of minerals from soil. The uptake of mineral ions by the roots may be passive or active. Passive absorption, it is the initial and rapid phase and ions are absorbed into the outer space of the cells. The apoplast. What is the apoplast? You can watch the video from lesson 8 of level 2. It does not require use of any metabolic energy. And active, it is the second phase of ion uptake. The ions are taken in slowly into the inner space by the symplast of cells. And what is the symplast? You have to check lesson number 8. It needs the expenditure of metabolic energy. The movement of ions is called flux. When the ion moves into the cells, it is called influx. And the outward movement of ions is called efflux. The minerals ions absorbed by the root system are translocated through the xylem vessels to other mode of nutrition. Nutrition in plants is classified into two main categories, autotrophic and heterotrophic. Heterotrophic plants are further classified into saprophyte, parasite and insectivorous. Autotrophic nutrition, it is a type of nutrition in which the living organisms manufacture their own organic food from simple inorganic raw materials. The green plants exhibit autotrophic mode of nutrition and hence called the autotrophs. The autotrophs require external energy source for the manufacture of organic substances. Green plants obtain energy from sunlight and therefore these are called photoautotrophs. The process of synthesizing food in plant is called photosynthesis. Heterotrophic nutrition. Certain non-green organisms like fungi and many bacteria fail to synthesize their own organic nutrient from inorganic substances. These organisms are thus dependent on some other external sources for their organic nutrition. Such plants are called heterotrophic plants and the mode of nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition. The heterotrophic plants are broadly categorized into three main groups depending upon the source from which they get their nourishment: saprophytes, parasite and insectivorous plants. Saprophytes are those plants which grow and live on dead decaying organic matter, including animal and plant remains. Most of these plants secrete some extracellular enzymes. Enzymes secreted and poured out on food, these are extracellular, which break down the complex organic compounds into simple forms. The simple forms are then absorbed by the plants. Saprophytes include mainly fungi and bacteria. Also among higher plants like Indian pipe plant, Monotropa found in Khasi Hills of our country. This is also parasitic plants, Kaskuta, known locally as Amarbel or Akash bel. This is a parasitic plant that lacks both chlorophyll and leaves. Please note down, इसमें chlorophyll भी नहीं है और leaves भी नहीं होते. It is a yellow in color climber that attaches itself to the host. It gives out haustoria or the suckers that give attached to the phloem of the host and derive nutrition. Cuscuta does not have roots in the mature condition. It produces bunches of whitish or yellowish bell-shaped flowers. Insectivorous plants. So please correct the spelling of insectivorous. There are certain plants which are autotrophic but show heterotrophic nutrition as well in order to supplement the deficiency of particular mineral in the soil. Insectivorous plants are the best examples. They feed on insects. They are generally found in nitrogen deficient habitat and hence to compensate the loss, they use insects as a source of nitrogen. Some examples are given below: Monotropa, Cuscuta, Nepenthes. Pitcher plant is also called this Nepenthes. So you can see in this animation what are insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants eats insects. So these plants feeds on animals, especially insects. So these are called insectivorous plants. The structure of these insectivorous plants which trap insects are actually modified leaves. You can see these plants are naturally found in the areas where soil lacks nutrients. So these plants obtain additional nutrient supplement from the animals they trap. These plants have a special trapping mechanism to catch their prey and they have special enzymes to absorb them. These are pitcher plant, bladderwort, sundew, Venus flytrap. So this is the pitcher plant. You can see here. This is the modification of leaf and shape is like pitcher. Insect goes into the pitcher looking for syrupy fluid in it. The lid closes. The insect is trapped. The plant secretes enzyme and digests. The insect is digested. You can see how this works. Next is bladderwort. This is aquatic insectivorous plant. These are the trapping organism. So insect touches the hair, the hinge door opens, the insect is sucked into the vacuum created by the bladder. The insect is then digested by the digestive enzymes which are secreted by it. Next is sundew. This is also known as Drosera. You can see here this sundew plant. Yes, these are like tentacles. So insects sits on these tentacles. Leaf folds over the insect. The insect is caught. Next is Venus flytrap. Insects are entered, and this is the, you can see, leaf-like structure. These are also called tentacles. So insects is on the blade. The blades close with a snap. The blades open for reuse after the insect is digested in about 10 days. This is the Venus flytrap. Because yes, you can see in this animation how this blade is closed, and after 10 days, so these are capable of living in low nutrient areas, and they get their nutrient from the insects they eat. These are called insectivorous. These plants grow well in wet soil. The leaves are modified in the form of pitchers. The pitcher has nectar producing glands below its rim. Shiny surface of the pitcher and nectar secreted by nectar glands attract the insect. Insect once trapped cannot escape due to the presence of numerous downward pointing hairs in the pitcher. The digestive glands present at the base of pitcher secrete enzymes. The insect are digested by the enzymes, and the products, which are mainly amino acids, are absorbed by the inner. What you have learned from this chapter: plants have the nutritional requirement of various inorganic and organic raw materials for building their structure and maintaining body functions. Nutrition is the sum total of processes involving intake or synthesis of food and its utilization. Plants generally derive their inorganic nutrients from soil, water, and atmosphere. The absorption, distribution, and metabolism of various mineral elements by plants is called mineral nutrition. Plants require 17 essential elements. They are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. The essentiality of minerals may be determined by employing the hydroponics and aeroponics. Inorganic nutrients are broadly classified into two categories: micronutrients and macronutrients, on the basis of the amount required by plant. Absence of any one element may cause deficiency symptoms in plants. These symptoms include reduction in growth, delaying of flowering, chlorosis, necrosis, early leaf fall, wilting, etc. Trophic is a kind of nutrition in which the organism is dependent on other external sources for nutrition. Heterotrophic plants are broadly categorized into three main groups: saprophytes, parasite, and insectivorous plants. Autotrophic is a kind of nutrition the organism manufacture their own food from inorganic raw materials by photosynthesis. Basically, there are two modes of nutrition: autotrophic and. These are the practice questions. We will meet in our next lecture. If you like this study material, these animations and this presentation, please share to others this link. Thank you very much. We will meet in our next lecture.